in America, you get a watch when you join the military, and that watch has to have illumination. Well, back in the 60s, early 70s, the US forces used to all have watches that contained what I've just described earlier as organic tritium. What that does is releases the beta particles. So if you put a Geiger counter on organic tritium, which is mixed with phosphor, it clicks.
Right.
And it clicks a lot. And when you got 300,000 of them in a store, it clicks even more. So that wasn't a problem. So what happened?
Going back to the models, we very briefly mentioned the Hawk there, which I can see you're wearing a Hawk at the moment.
Yep.
Which is the orange dialed one. It was a great look. What was the ethos behind creating the Hawk?
The brand I used to sell and created in the UK, I know I'm not allowed to mention that.
You can if you want to.
Well, if you want, I mean, it's up to you whether you put it.
There's no one listening.
Back in 1998, I connected because of this technology with a company called MB Microtech, who are the manufacturers of this product.
Yeah,
the Tritium illumination. They were the people that were providing tritium tubes to Luminox. But going back further, they were the people that developed these tubes specifically for marathon watches
right.
in the late 60s, early 70s, because the US military, who issue every man with a watch, unlike in the UK forces, in America, you get a watch when you join the military.
Yeah.
And that watch has to have illumination. Well, back in the 60s, early 70s, the US forces used to all have watches that contained what I've just described earlier as organic tritium. What that does is releases the beta particles. So if you put a Geiger counter on organic tritium, which is mixed with phosphor, it clicks.
Right.
And it clicks a lot. And when you got 300,000 of them in a store, it clicks even more. So that wasn't a problem. So what happened is the specialists in this field, which were MB Microtech in Switzerland, were approached by Marathon to find a solution to put small guaranteed illumination onto a watch dial. And this is how the original micro gaseous tritium light sources were developed.
Okay.
And they were on Marathon. So Marathon have sold 300,000 or 400,000 watches to US military long before Luminox even was a thing.
Sure, I
What
understand.
Luminox did was brought that to the mass market, because Marathon were just military suppliers. Whereas Luminox brought it to the masses and stuck the Navy SEAL badge on it by hook or by crook, and they did it well. And that's where suddenly it became aware. And then from that, I heard about this illumination as on a Luminox watch and got in touch with MB Microtech, hence why I introduced tracer watches to the UK, which I was paramount in developing with MB Microtech. And I introduced the first tritium watches into the UK. And I'm responsible for doing that.
And you've come out of retirement to do it again.
Yeah. So going back to your original question, why do I do the Hawk? When I started with the MX-10, which is called the MX-10 because I wanted to design a product that looked and felt like the original G10 British issue.
Very much so, yeah. Agreed, yeah.
But I wanted something that was better than it. And I believe that is better than the G10.
It's an evolution
simply
of it,
because
yeah.
it's a higher specification, it has tritium illumination, it's built more solidly. It's more waterproof. It's just a great watch. So so that was the MX-10. That's how that came to be. Adding into that, I wanted to see a product that, because we had this reputation for selling, I was used to selling watches to military. So I created the Hawk, which was our take on call it if you like, the Luminox Marathon sort of, the Luminox Navy SEAL S3000 watch, which was then the Tracer S3000 watch, which I sold thousands of. And so when I started Nite, I wanted one that was matching that, but looked better, in my opinion, and felt a little bit better.
Yeah.
So I decided to create the Hawk, which had the 715 Li 10-year battery.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty
And
useful.
we also, this one here, I don't know if you can see this one, can you see it here? This one here.
We'll make sure we get a close-up in.
Yeah, well, some of them have what they call T25.
Yeah.
T25 is T25 millicuries of activity inside the light, inside the lights for the total of the watch.
Okay.
T25. So the next category up is T100. So that's 100 millicuries. That can either mean more tritium in smaller lights to make them brighter, which means more pressure, or bigger lights that are just more visible and you need more tritium to fill it, right? So that's the Hawk, and
the case for the Hawk is, because obviously we can feel it because we're here. That is an extremely light watch.
extremely light.
I mean, this is not, if we're getting a close up here, this is not a black DLC or QPQ'd or a PVD covered steel watch. This is how is this case constructed?
The case constructed, it's a carbon reinforced polycarbonate case,
right,
and bezel. We have a stainless steel case back, carbon coated, and engraved with our logo. You also see on the back here Trigalight. Incidentally, Tracer, when there was a reconfiguration of MB Microtech, they took Tracer as the watch brand and they rebadged the light sources as Trigalight.
Okay.
So they're now two separate companies. That's why that is. So now they're called Trigalights, but they used to be called Tracer lights. It's a screw-in case back. Nice big chunky crown that you can, but it's well protected, but easy to get hold of in gloves.
When I did the review recently, which actually was the orange watch you've got on your wrist now, the one thing that really, really resonated with me on the Hawk was the bezel. Because I've owned Tritium watches of every manufacturer in the past, and I thought the tactile nature of the bezel, because I was wearing thick gloves at the time, was exceptional. In fact, it was probably, I would even go as far as say it was the best bezel I've used on a polycarbon watch.
Yeah, well, I did that by design. The original, so the case supplier of this, when I first got the case, they said, "Look, we can offer you this. This is a generic case. So we it's not one this. We don't own this case, but we do own this bezel. And the case the bezel that was on this case, I wasn't happy with. So this bezel was by design, because having sold Tracer watches and for many years, I realised that one of the things that we used to get and getting wear and tear on these bezels was also an issue. It became very smooth because a lot of the original polycarbonate of the watches and the cases on the original Luminox and Tracer watches. I mean, anyone will tell you, it was not the quality of this that they are now.
Doesn't it?
And incidentally, I would say, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying they're still that way. No. They're not. Just technology's moved on.
Absolutely.
All. So this is, if you listen to the bezel, it's a beautiful.
Talking about the construction of the watch there, of the Hawk, it's interesting because I think my previous career, I was dealing with products that were traditionally made of steel, and then we introduced polymer again. And we had a lot of trouble convincing military and police operators that these products were as tough, if not tougher, than the steel versions. And eventually now it's become to the point that the majority of the products are made from polymer now, and steel has become almost redundant. I think it's important to reinforce, no pun intended on the Hawk, that this is an exceptionally strong material.
Oh, exceptionally strong, exceptionally light and exceptionally strong. I would put it probably on par with titanium.
Okay. That's
simply as far as its durability. It's because it is, titanium will bend, and if you take it to its extreme, whereas this will split if you take it to extreme, but there's nothing in this to bend.
Right, okay.
And we have something in our brand called Nite Mavericks. I know it's a bit tongue-in-cheek, but these are people, and our slogan is proven through passion. So we we give these watches to people that go out and have to endure the elements. And we have mountaineers, we have skiers, we have people that are literally walking to the Antarctic. We have people climbing mountains, ice, snow, heat, jungle, wearing these watches. Hence our slogan, proven through passion. Our watches are proven through people going out and engaging in their passions of adventure. So, for example, I could take you on to the Alpha from this.
Why not? Let's go to the Alpha.
So this is Alpha. This is our Alpha. I call this our flagship. It's our dive watch. We say that simply because it is a classically designed dive watch with ceramic bezel, double thickness sapphire crystal, tritium all round. The difference between the lights in here, this is T100 all day long. And the lights in here, instead of being round, are actually flat. Very expensive to make and very bright. Visually, this is the brightest thing. I mean, I've yet to find anyone who's bought this watch or has worn this watch that's never experienced tritium. They all come back and say, my goodness, it's just ridiculous. It keeps me awake at night almost, it's so bright.
Yeah, at the World Time event in London, when we were bizarrely on the next booth to you, you had one under a UV light.
Oh, yeah.
And it was very impressive.
Yeah, but that's what it looks like.
Yeah, it was very impressive, yeah.
If you're in total darkness, I mean, obviously people put things under UV because it's the only way to see.
It was bright in the whole, it was the only way to really see it. But even then it looked amazing.
Yeah. And I mean, we used to sort of try and demonstrate these things by putting them in boxes and stuff like that. And people were putting their head in a box and all the rest of it, and then sticking them in their jackets and trying to but it takes 5 or 10 minutes for your eyes to get accustomed to the dark.
Yeah.
But normally with this, what you'll find is you'll be in full light. So you'll be, outside having a drink, or you'll be out camping, or you'll be hiking or whatever. Or then suddenly the light starts to fade. And just when you need it, this is there. It's just there, It's not like, wow, it doesn't just actually pop it. It just suddenly arrives and stays there all night. So with this, it's 300 meters water resistance. We've got triple O-ring crown, screen case back, double thickness, extra strong spring bars with quite deep recesses to stop, make sure it doesn't pull out. A beautiful, comfortable, easy to turn, again, bezel.
And you've got a lot of variants of it.
And there's a lot of variants.
Yeah, you can almost tailor it.
Yeah. Well, we do sometimes. Occasionally what we'll do with this is we'll do a run of 50 pieces. We have one in the pipeline, which we're going to possibly release next year for our 20th anniversary, which will be one of these completely steel. Dial, bezel, everything, all stainless steel, the whole thing. Hands the lot, and it's going to be a bit of a monster in terms of, it's probably going to be reasonably weighty, but I think it'll be an awesome look. It will just look like a chunk of metal.
Promise us one for a review.
Yeah, for sure. You can get the prototype for review.
I'm going to hold you to that. Now, this watch here, unbeknownst to the WatchGecko audience, is we've already done a little sneaky collaboration on this.
Yeah.
With some very interesting chaps called Team, I got to read this again, Shut Up and Row.
Yeah.
Help us out here. What is that?
This is a bunch of the wildest men you could ever possibly meet. It's 3 former Navy SEALs and 1 former US Marine captain, all retired, all in their late 30s, early 40s. And it's the first all-American team to enter the Talisker cross-Atlantic rowing race. So we've kitted each one of them out with one of our Alpha 208 models, with one of your wonderful Zulu diver straps fitted. So it's because what we want to see is if these watches, we don't see if, because we know they will.
Yeah, they will.
a quick wash off with some clean water at the end of it, and they're going to be like new. But they're going to be wearing them all the way across the Atlantic in this rowing challenge for 35 to 40 days. Hopefully it'll be nearer 35, because if they're near 35, they should win.
Right, okay.
And it's the first All-American team that's ever entered in the 4-man. And, man, these guys are just insane. I mean, they are doing rowing. One of them, this coming weekend, his nickname is Tosh. He's the US Marine, and he's also the captain of the boat. He's the one that's organised all this for a big charity in America called the Big Fish Foundation, which is basically raising funds for veterans. And also they're tied in with Rogue Fitness, they're tied in with Black Rifle Coffee, Night Watches, Through Dark in the UK.
Yep,
and we're supplying them with kit. And he's this weekend going to do 40 consecutive 10-kilometer rows this weekend. Yep. On the hour, every hour for 40 hours. They've already done one 3 weeks ago where he did 36 hours. And so work that out. 1 hour. It normally takes about 30, for someone who's a good average rower, it takes about 38 minutes to do 10 kilometers. Right? So he's going to do that on the hour, every hour, 40 times in succession. And the only way he can fail is either if he gives up or if one of those sessions goes over the hour.
Right.
Hey, man.
It's not often I'm lost for words, but I don't really know how to respond to that.
Yeah. I'm going out to Tenerife on a PR visit with them.
Excellent.
So we're going to do a whole video and about the team.
Well, if we get any photos of the rowers, if you're cool about it, maybe we could punch them up on the magazine.
Yeah. No,
I'd love to
do a
get
whole feature on it.
Yeah, I'd love to get pictures of them up doing their thing.
Yeah.
That would be great. So, I mean, it's going to be a wonderful test for the Alpha, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a great environment to see it in.
So tell you what, why don't I'll get you there straight down the line, because these guys are Navy SEALs and Royal Marines. They ain't going to be telling lies. If the watch didn't cut the mustard, they're going to tell me, and they won't do a review because they ain't going to lie online. I can tell you. So what I'll do is I'll get Tosh to do a full review on how these stood
Brilliant.
up.
That would be fantastic.
And and we'll see. Let's see.
Okay.
I'm confident.
Hey, I'm confident too, because I actually wore this watch for a week and I loved it. Just rounding off now, the future of Nite. I mean, it's obviously going to be a very bright future. You've got a wonderful portfolio already. Where do you want to take it in the next few years?
Okay, well, I'm just going to say, I mean, all of our watches have always contained Swiss-made movements. We've mainly dealt with Ronda. They've looked after us for many years. We're happy with them. You know, we've trialed other bits and pieces as well. But Ronda have just been good to us. Across all of our watches, we now use the 715 or the 715 Li. So it's, I mean, the only reason we don't use the 715 Li in the MX-10 is because it won't fit. That's the only reason. Otherwise, we'd have that in there for sure.
Yeah, sure.
So, but it's definitely in the Hawk. It's definitely in the Alpha. So we're big on Swiss. We're big on high quality as we possibly can be. Given who we are. However, our next move now is to create all of our watches to be Swiss made. We're going to rejuvenate these watches with a full Swiss made line.
Okay.
We'll keep these lines, but they're going to be Swiss made. So we're going to do Swiss made. And now we have also got in the pipeline 4 Swiss made automatics. Mostly using Solita movements. The first one's coming out in March 2023, which is our Atlas field watch. So we're real excited about that. And as you know, we've been looking at strap options today, and I think we've placed an order with you guys.
We did get a sneaky peek of the Atlas today, and it does look amazing.
Yeah. So, and that was just the prototype you saw, which was sort of a bit, I know
it got the message.
That movement
across.
in the back of it was paper, by the way, not a real one.
I did notice it wasn't ticking. Yeah.
And so we're really excited about that. We have got a dive watch coming out called the Manta. Because if we get asked for one thing, it's with the Alpha. It's if that was Swiss made and twice the price, I'd be happy to buy it. You know, so we've just taken that. So we've got a Manta on literally drawn everything. Technical drawings are done. Everything. We've also got an amazing GMT watch, which we're potentially going to call the Maverick.
After your followers.
After our followers.
They'll love that.
And after me, because I'm a bit of a maverick, because I haven't done anything to the norm. Everything's been strange. And we've also got a dress watch in the collection, which is, again, Swiss-made automatic. But we're sort of on the fence with that. It's a beautiful watch. It's going to be called the Vitus. It's beautiful. Not the one I've shown you today. That was a prototype for something else. The new Vitus is actually a real dress watch. So
but this would still have tritium technology in it?
We will never make a watch without tritium.
Okay.
You know, that's our thing. You know, we want to slot ourselves. We want to make watches just as good as ball watches, but a little bit less.
Okay.
In fact, better if we can. And that's where we're going. That's what we want to aim for. You know, high technology isn't necessarily making our own movements and things isn't necessarily our bag. We just want proven, tested movements that work well, which is what we've done with Rhonda. I mean, this we just don't get these back.
Yeah, I'm sure.
We just do not get Alphas returned or Hawks, and almost never MX10s anymore. You know, we've got to a point where our warranty is next to nothing.
No names being mentioned, but we know who've got the 10s, so they would squeal if there was something wrong with it.
So watch this space. So I would say that by 2025 we'll be fully Swiss made. Will the quality be different for the quartz watches? Honestly, if I'm being honest, I don't think so. I think they'll just can't be much better than they are. They are
for sure
amazing watches, and our reliability is right up there. Our quality is right up there, and our customer service can't be any better anyway. So, that's why we do it direct.
That's something we didn't touch on. So your whole operation is based down south in the UK, isn't it?
Yeah, and
that's your customer services, distribution, everything.
Everything.
Right. So this is really important. We didn't actually really touch on the fact that this is a British operation, obviously.
Yeah, we're a British brand. Proud of it.
Yeah.
And if we could find a British manufacturer that would make our watches, we'd be made in Britain as well. But I don't have to.
Well, where exactly are you based? Just so that people
in Christchurch, in Dorset.
Very nice part of the world.
Yeah, it's very nice.
Okay.
Yeah,
lovely.
It's quite good actually because we have our own showroom, and it's got a bit of a coffee shop vibe. Really, we've got a coffee shop with pictures of our Mavericks on the wall and my massive motorbike in the corner of the room. It's quite a nice little touch. And people, but the good thing about being in Christchurch is that we get people coming from literally all over the country to see us because they just tie it in. And Friday is always our busiest day because they tie it in with a long weekend by the sea.
Absolutely,
so it's great. So, or they'll come on a Monday. When they've had a weekend in Bournemouth or Christchurch or down on the Jurassic Coast, and then they just swing by and see us and, they pick up a watch. So our watches are direct to consumer in any way. So we'll get, we'll also direct to consumer when we do some shows, and we're covering a number of new markets this year. We're going big time into motorcycling. We're going to hit the motorcycling community. We have actually taken on two very, very unique motorcycle shows as a brand called Kickback. And it's the Nite Watches Kickback Custom Motorcycle Show, which funnily enough, the owner of that show lives just down the road from you here in Cheltenham.
Really?
Yeah. And the show's been going for 12 years, but it's been quite an underground street kind of show. So what we've done is we've ploughed a bit of cash into it, and we're going to turn it into the Nite Watches Show.
Fantastic.
And we've managed to tie up a deal this year where we're tying it in with what they call the Great Tattoo Tea Party at GMEX.
Right.
in Easter weekend 2023.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we got another one in September in the Three Counties Showground in Melbourne.
It all sounds great, and I want to book myself in for a coffee.
Yeah.
And all I can say is thank you on this Friday for giving up the busiest day in your coffee shop to come and see us. Roger, hugely appreciative of your time. It's been a brilliant insight into Tritium and night watches. Hopefully we can do this again.
Yeah.
And we can talk again. You can come back.
Yeah, I'd love to. Absolutely love to. I'll tell you more about the rowing thing and some of the challenges I've gone
We'll follow up on that. There you go. You heard it here. We'll follow up on that.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's goodbye from us. Thanks very much for watching another one of our videos. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you soon.